Hey, what's going on, crypto people? It is the Crypto Siege with another day in the crazy life that is the digital asset space. Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you guys. I came across a video today. I don't know. I think it's probably one of the most important videos that you'll watch today. You know, I recommended two videos about a week ago that I thought were hugely important. And this one ties into and complements actually the two other videos that I recommend that you guys check out by George Gammon on the IMF and Bretton Woods for sure. And I can't remember the other one right now, but I think the other one was by Stansberry Research, I believe. And I have another video from Stansberry Research as well, which is kind of tied into Kitco News, which is a gold platform. An education platform on YouTube as well. And so, you know, it's funny, I was looking over the interest that got deposited in our account yesterday and on Mondays, right? Mondays is always a great time. Wake up in the morning and check those weekly deposits to check the money that we've earned on our money. And I just think it is so significant to be in that mindset, to fully expect to earn money on your money, to have a mindset that you're deserving to earn money on your money, and to practice sound fundamental finance. I think it's hugely important. And so it's interesting. I was reading an article about the Celsius network and the fact that they've doubled their assets under management, in 6 months. To me is insane, absolutely insane. And then the word of cred, unfortunately, cred, which was you know, kind of acting in the same business space as Celsius, right? A different business model, but in the same space. They had to file bankruptcy, unfortunately. And in the video I did yesterday, I said how Alex had reached out to the people there at Cred and was looking to help, you know, looking to help in any way that he could, whether it be with the depositors that may not be able to get their money. He was actually looking to help those there. So, which I think is really cool. And we'll see how all that plays out. But the thing that I thought about is, you know, every single week without fail, this interest is being deposited because we're practicing the principles of acquiring assets, right? Acquiring assets and earning interest on those assets, right? And so you have to seek out the platform that can fundamentally and sustainably provide that for us, right? So we're just in a great time in this digital asset space without question. And I encourage you. I'm going to go over some stuff about Celsius today. I encourage you to do your homework, really look into as many AMAs as you possibly can, and learn more about this platform and how it can change your life and your family's life. I mean, literally in 3 years, they got 50 or just maybe even over 50 people who have become millionaires because of the platform Celsius, right? And so, yeah, I get it. To sell token 4,000% in the last year is pretty significant. I think that's 40x, right? I think 40x is 4,000%. So that's cool. Crazy. You want to kick myself in the butt about that one, knowing about Celsius from pretty much from the beginning. But yeah, so like a 40x in the last year. But the 2 years and 6 months, not a movement. That's an interesting time, right? That's a strong hodl right there. Just like pretty much what we've been doing with XRP. But at least for us in XRP, we know at one time that it was $3.77. Celsius never had that. And yet the people hodl strong there because of the philosophy of acquiring assets and holding on to the assets and, and weathering the storm, if you will. And that's just in the Cell token. Of course, people were earning, before that, and because they were purchasing digital assets, right? Acquiring assets like XRP, right? Or acquiring assets like Ethereum, right? Acquiring these assets and earning interest on those assets. And so listen to a video today, interestingly enough, by the guy, his name is Simon Dixon, who is the CEO and founder of Bank to the Future. Now, in the description of the video, it said BANK to the future.com. And so I was thinking, well, that's different than the Bank to the Future that Celsius used to actually do their fundraise that they recently did to allow you and I to be able to purchase shares of the Celsius company, Celsius Network. But there on Celsius, it was BNK, no A. Well, it turns out it's the same guy, it's the same CEO, it's the same company, right? And so I said, that's interesting. Well, I'm listening to the video, and she's telling how this guy, who called the 2020 situation that we're in today to a T, like almost to a word. And he called it in 2016. Like he literally called it to the T. What's happening right now? Literally. Yeah, Simon Dixon. I did not know he was the CEO of Bank of the Future, and the same Bank of the Future that did the, again, the fundraise for the Celsius Network, same company, same deal. So, and they're going to do the next one as well. And so it allowed, again, that fundraise allowed you and I, as to be able to, as accredited investors, to be able to purchase into the Celsius Network, which was a really cool deal that they did. And they're going to do another one. And they're only going to do it because they want to give more people an opportunity to get in the cell. They don't need to own shares of the Celsius Network. They don't need the money, and I'm gonna share that with you. But I'm gonna share you some bits and pieces from this video because, again, they're talking about the central bank digital currency in this video, talking about the central bank, and this guy is calling for something that I've kind of heard once or twice about the central bank to really kind of bypass it, if you will, the regular privately owned banks of the world and dealing directly with the retailer or with the individual directly, and becoming a war between, if you will, between the banks, a battle between the banks, and a currency war, which is going to be interesting. It's different than what Jim Rickards talked about. But there is going to be this kind of currency war because the people are going to want more options, and they're just not going to trust the governments or anything else. And this new asset class is going to give you and I so many other options that it's just going to be a big time competition to try to get our dollars deposited somewhere. And that's a great thing for us. But he's also talking about this reset. And that's the thing I think is important. I want you to listen to her, I forget her name. And she talks about how this reset, and then the mention of it from Kristalina Georgieva was missed. She said it was missed by the masses. And I was just thinking to ourselves, not us, we didn't miss it. We've been spot on about it, right? And that's why I say to you guys all the time, you got to get where you are and how far ahead you are in terms of knowing what's going on, the reality of what's really kind of going on, right? We don't have our heads in the sands like your neighbor, right? Or your coworker might have. It's so important to understand where we are. And it's pretty cool to know that we're in the know, right? Let me share a little bit of this with you guys. It's called Bitcoin's Revolution is Now. The Bretton Woods Reset, right? And this is, when they say Bitcoin, it's the new asset class. It's not just this one asset.
With the saturation of news between the U.S. election and the pandemic, what tends to happen is certain news items seep through the cracks here. And one of them is regarding the IMF back in October saying that we might see a return to some sort of Bretton Woods. That was the call from their managing director, Kristalina Georgieva, back in October. And I want to talk about this today with my guest, Simon Dixon. He is the CEO and co-founder of the online investment platform banktothefuture.com. He also wrote a book 10 years ago with the same name, Bank to the Future, in which he predicted the crisis that we're experiencing now in 2020. He also has another prediction, which we will get to. But first, welcome to the show, Simon.
Hey, really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm happy to have you. I mean, Max Kaiser has called you the best investment banker in Bitcoin. So I thought you'd be the perfect person to talk, obviously, Bitcoin, digital currency. But first, this message from the managing director of the IMF that we might see a new Bretton Woods. What do you make of it, and what would it look like?
So I think that we're leaning towards a central bank digital currency world. I first created a video in 2016 saying that central bank digital currencies would be used as a new mechanism to bail out bankrupt banks, and central banks would wage war on banks. And so the
central banks would wage war on the other banks. I just always found it interesting, even with our friend Madame Lagarde, she was always talking about how the central banks need to change and need to pivot. It does feel like the central banks are really pushing towards this central bank digital currency, and there's some give and take, and there's some pros and cons to it. But ultimately, those of us who are prepared and who are in the know and who are leveling up our XRP IQ, our digital asset space IQ, and our financial IQ are ultimately going to benefit from it. And he says some really interesting things here that I think it's so important for us to pay attention to.
IMF recently made an announcement, and I created some commentary going through trying to translate what the IMF is saying into everyday language so people could understand it. But the IMF is calling for Bretton Woods 2, and it totally got drowned in the election and pandemic, as you said in the intro, because it's a really significant event. And that is that the IMF is a very socialist organization that has tried on several occasions since 1944 to inflict a global currency on the world, since John Maynard Keynes tried to introduce the Bancor, and we ended up with the US dollar debt-backed standard instead. And the IMF is getting ready now that all central bank balance sheets are completely out of control. Governments are entering globally, we're in $250 trillion of global debt. And I think that the next stage after this election, after this health crisis, is banks' balance sheets being exposed for what they actually are.
Yeah, so he's thinking after everything kind of settles down, which is not going to be until January, and then you got the beer cold thing, who God knows when that's going to be settled down. There's going to be a certain kind of exposure to the reality of the central bank debts, in fact, just debts in general. $250 trillion in debt, and that's why they're talking about this reset, because it's just they can't recover from it. But what is that going to look like for you and I is really the most important thing. And I don't think that it's the end of the world by no means. But the question is, what does it mean for you and I, and how can we prepare for it? When we look at the fact that we're early in this new asset class, what does that mean for you and I? What does that look like, right? And there's this thing about saving and spending that I just think is so very important, because for us, I was going over something from Nouriel Roubini earlier this morning, and when you think about the actual wealth, the net wealth, by what he called the bottom 50%, the net wealth, real wealth, is less than 1% by the quote unquote lower 50% of the populace. It's 0.5, 0.5. But if you look at the 50 billionaires, I think it's like over 50% of the real network. That is a staggering number, a staggering number. And the idea is like, what do we do about that? What can we do? And I just believe we have a place where we can practice sound savings, right? Take advantage of the sound saving instrument to change our lives.
And so the IMF is the perfect type of organization that would like to be involved in negotiating a new monetary system and putting their central bank digital currency at the center of that in order to really put forward what they tried to achieve with special drawing rights, but didn't quite get as far as they wanted to go.
Now, Simon, as we know, post-World War II, Bretton Woods was the big reset, right? But what does it look like in today's world? Is it backed by digital currency? Is it backed by gold? What does it represent?
Well, I don't think it's going to be backed by gold. I think it's going to be a repackaging of all this global debt and toxic assets. So really, we're in an over-leveraged economy, over-leveraged financial system, over-leveraged individuals maxed out on their credit cards and student loans and all sorts of other debts. Corporations that have been using the debt capital markets to push up the stock markets, and governments that are moving towards a modern monetary theory style economy where everything is funded by quantitative easing stimulus. Eventually, I believe that when the stimulus packages stop and helicopter money stops, then the true nature of people's individual balance sheets comes out, and the first place that hits is the real estate markets. And
so that's an interesting statement there. Let me see if I can find something. The real balance sheets come out. Let me see if I can find this. I wasn't going to do this originally, but let me see if I can pull this out for you guys. This is from Norio Robini, where he actually had, believe it or not, he had a sentence or two of some positivity about the digital asset space. I thought that was pretty interesting. In fact, in the interview, he brought it up. He wanted to speak on it. Let me see if I can read this part here. Not about that, but what he's saying about where people are in terms of real, he calls it equity wealth. Equity wealth, right? He says, let's see, here it is. But suppose that you are permanently unemployed, or you're underemployed, or you're at risk of losing your job. And this is where we are right now. This is why Simon from Bank of the Future, the CEO, is saying, when the dust settles and the exposures of not only the central bank's balance sheets, but our balance sheet as an individual, once that gets out, once the helicopter money stops flowing in and the stimulus just stops, what does your balance sheet ultimately look like? That realization, and here's what it looks like. You're also among the people that has almost no financial wealth. Let me say it again. But suppose that you are permanently unemployed, or you're underemployed, or you're at risk of losing your job, which is anyone who has a job, in my humble opinion. Anyone who has a job. I've been saying this since the mid 80s. Anyone who has a job is at risk of losing the job. Wall Street just recently came out maybe 2 years ago, probably a year ago, and said that the new job security was in fact, what we like to call a cash flow business. They call it a side hustle. That's the new job security. So at risk of losing your job, you're also among the people that has almost no financial wealth. just to give a number, 85% of all equity wealth in the United States is held by the top 10% of households. So it's equity wealth, not, okay, so equities, okay? 85% of all equity wealth in the United States is held by the top 10% of households. 51% of it is held by the top, 51% is held by the top 1% of households. The bottom 50% of households has almost zero equity wealth. Because there's no assets. No one is owning any assets, right? And we say in this channel all the time that we are going to move from a debt-based society to an asset-based society. The bottom 50% of the household has almost zero equity wealth, 0.5%. And get this, and the top 60 billionaires in the United States have more wealth than the bottom 50% of the population. That is 160 million people. Assets, financial assets. This is a new asset class. And so the idea really is in acquiring these assets, holding on to these assets, understanding the value in them, right? And earning some yield, earning interest on those assets. Guys, I strongly encourage you to watch this video. It's only 22 minutes. It's only, Simon Dixon is his name. Banktothefuture.com. When you type it in, I think it takes out the A and just goes BNK to thefuture.com. I think it's very interesting that Celsius chose this particular platform to do their funding. I think that's interesting that they did do that. For me, I think it's just about like minds and great minds, right? This guy called what's going on in 2020. First she said 2016, then she said 10 years ago. But in either case, he did call it. And he's a young guy. He's very, very young. So this is one of those opportunities for us to level up our financial space IQ by checking this out. But for me, the answer in that wealth, right? Because this is an asset class. And I just think it's so hugely important to understand that in this fourth industrial revolution, this is an asset class, right? Doesn't mean that gold is not an asset. Doesn't mean that real estate is not an asset. But this asset class is full of assets. We just got to figure out the ones that are really valuable. And we understand that utility is going to rule the day. But we should not accept anything less than being able to earn on our assets, right? And let me share with you a little thing here that I thought was important from Alex Mashinsky. We officially announced today 2.2 billion in assets under management, plus an additional 600 million in additional assets on our balance sheet. We want to thank all our customers and community members for their trust and support of Celsius Network. This is an article from prnewswire.com. Celsius doubles its crypto holding in 6 months to surpass 2.2 billion in assets under management. Do you have a platform that is looking out for you? That is looking out for your best interest. Your best interest. A lot of people don't understand this, but Celsius pays out 80% of the revenue back to the platform holders, not of the profits, but of the revenue. So Celsius, the industry-leading cryptocurrency rewards earning platform, today announced that it has surpassed over 2.2 billion worth of assets held under management. Earlier this year, Celsius became the first crypto platform to surpass $1 billion in total assets under management and has doubled its net crypto holding in just 6 months. In one of the hardest years, the crypto lending company has achieved massive growth and continues to be one of the fastest growing companies in the industry. Other recent milestones for Celsius include over 215,000 active users, over $80 million in crypto rewards distributed to the Celsius community, 80 million in 3 years or so. Cell token is up 4,529% in the past year. Celsius balance sheet, not including assets under management, which includes cash and Cell tokens, is now over $680 million. This is a sustainability model. This is a sustainable business model. That is some massive, massive, massive stuff. Celsius attributes exponential growth to its community-centric model of acting in the best interest of the customer by providing up to 80% of its total revenue back to its customers. Through the Celsius wallet, customers can earn rewards on their crypto at rates up to 15% APY on over 40 digital assets paid out weekly. Users can also leverage their crypto as collateral to borrow dollars to fiat or stable coins at the lowest rate in the industry, and can earn rewards in kind, which is earning interest on your assets, or in the Cell token. This is the answer, right? So no matter what in my humble opinion, so no matter what the IMF puts together, no matter what the central banks put together with their central bank digital currencies, right? No matter what happens with Ripple, the company, no matter what happens with Uphold, well, no matter the bankruptcy that just happened with Cred, we are in a position to practice sound financial principles, and that is the acquiring of assets that we feel are valuable, right? Holding on to those assets and earning interest on those assets, leveraging the assets that we hold versus liquidating, right? Leveraging the assets versus liquidating the assets. So we not only do we acquire and save, number one, we earn interest on our savings, if you will, number two, and then number three, we act like the 1% of the 1%, right? And given the opportunity, if it makes sense, you leverage those assets. You can get money in fiat, or you can get it in stable coins to reinvest in this fourth industrial revolution. And here are some of the rates, guys. 7.21% if you're earning in Cell on Ethereum. If you're in the States, it would be 5.50. 5.12 on Celsius, where you can purchase it on Liquid or IDEX or Uniswap, and earn 5.12% on Celsius token. Bitcoin, you can earn 6.2% if you're earning it in Cell, which means you're out of the States, or 4.51% in the States. Synthetics, SNX, 16.16% in the States, 21.5% if you're out of the States. Matic, 16.16% on Matic. I took advantage of that big time. 16.60%, 21% if you're out of the States and earning in Cell. Tether, stable coins are all 10.5% currently. That's the rate, 10.5% on stable coins. That's Tether, True USD. You earn on DAI 10.51%. Interesting. USD coin, 10, right? True HKD, Paxos Standard, Gemini Dollar, Solgar. I'm not sure what that is. And so all the stable coins 10.5%. Yuma 7% in the States. Uniswap is 6.5% in the States, and it's higher, obviously, if you're earning it in Cell. So just to give you an idea of some of the rates there, but the most important thing is these are assets, right? You yourself determine the value in those assets. You accumulate the asset and you earn interest on it, right? A very, very sound model. And again, 50 millionaires from Celsius. I believe it's close to 50, if not over 50 in 3 years. It's a pretty cool thing. And what I like about it for our channel on Generational Wealth Wednesdays is that it promotes sound financial principles that I think is huge. That's why we have it in our generational wealth formula, which is digital assets. Generational wealth equals digital assets plus sound saving instruments like the Celsius platform, multiplied by a cash flow business, multiplied by a cash flow business, which is the new job security. Right? All right, guys. So listen, there's a link in the description of all of my videos for the Celsius platform. I am an ambassador for Celsius and proud to be one, absolutely proud to be associated in some small way with what they're doing there with Alex Mashinsky and everything that you're doing at the Celsius, Network. So if you want to learn more, this website they newly put together, it's really, really awesome. It's celsius.network. You click on the top 3 bars there to the right, and you can learn about the different things. You can learn community, sell tokens, sell, pay, borrow, and earn. You can learn all about and how that works. And again, a link in the description to all of my videos. I think if you do $200 initial deposit, I think you and I earn some BTC. And I don't know if it's $10 or $20. I don't even know anymore, but I think it's $20 for those of us in the States. But most importantly, do your homework. Watch some AMAs by Alex Mashinsky. Don't just go hop on something, right? Do your homework, right? Watch some videos. Check out Alex Mashinsky on Wall Street. Check him out at CNBC and MSNBC. This is the guy who created the voice over internet protocol. Learn who Alex Mashinsky is, a successful serial entrepreneur who did not have to walk back into the world and create something for you and I. He was doing okay, right? 2 unicorns, with $1 billion in exits, right? I think maybe even 3 billion in exits total. And so learn more about it, learn more about the platform. And I definitely encourage you to seriously look into practicing these sound financial principles with the Celsius platform. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to wrap up this video like I do all of my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.